Guys, I want to thank the sponsors of the podcast. I want to thank GoHunt.com, my friend Cody Nelson, the glassing guru, the optics authority. He's the optics manager at GoHunt.com. If you have any interest in buying optics or have any glassing questions, whether it be tripods, spotting scopes, rifle scopes, range finders, anything to do with glassing, give Cody a call, 702-847-8747. That's extension 2, or you can email him at optics@gohunt.com. You can also send him a text or call him on his cell phone at 602-399-3699. Guys, right now at GoHunt.com Insider, you can take advantage of the free trial. Go to GoHunt.com/JScott. You're going to be able to take advantage of a free trial of the Insider. GoHunt is always adding more value for their Insider members. They've now added real 3D maps as a part of Insider for no additional cost. What an incredible value. Very soon they're going to have their mobile app up as well. Go to GoHunt.com/JScott and sign up for a free trial. If you're already an Insider member, it's automatically part of your Insider membership, and you can just go to the Maps tab up at the top once you sign in as an Insider. I also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. That's the gear that I wear on all of my hunts. To find out more, you can go to KUIU.com, KUIU.com. They're a direct-to-consumer company. They sell everything off of the KUIU.com website. I also do a lot of question and answer on my Instagram, where I'm answering questions about guys wanting to know about gear about KUIU, so tune into my Instagram. I want to thank KUIU for their sponsorship. I also want to thank phonescope.com. Use the JScott20 promo code. You're going to get a 10% discount on all orders. And I want to thank allelk.com, home of the Bugle Mule. Use the JSO10 to save 10% on all orders. The Bugle Mule attaches to your bugle, and it's a great little carrier that holds 3 elk calls right there on your bugle tube, and I can't wait to use it this season. Again, thanks to all the sponsors of my podcast. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today I've got Parker Fales of Clay Bundy Guide Service, Clay Bundy Outfitters, I guess, on the line. Parker just came off the Arizona Strip to get a few supplies and head back, and got a couple really nice bucks on opening weekend on the archery hunt. Tell me about it, Parker.
Yeah, Jay, thanks for having me on. Hey, you couldn't ask for a better opening weekend. It usually doesn't happen like that, so we'll take them when it does, for sure. I've kind of been talking with you throughout the summer, and this summer has been, it's been one of the hardest summers I remember for scouting wise, just with deer moving and activity, seeing deer. Just been really hot and really dry this summer, and that has made finding deer difficult. And so really didn't expect for this opening weekend to quite go this way, but really grateful it did, and grateful we got blessed with some awesome bucks and some great hunters.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to have you tell me about those bucks here in a minute. Before we get to that, so the day or two leading up to the archery hunt, as dry as it gets, deer hitting trick tanks, hitting dirt tanks, hitting water, very, very consistent.
Yes, they were. And so, of course that spells trouble for those bucks that are doing that. But also important to remember a lot of times is a lot of these older deer on the strip are hitting at night only. And so, so if they're doing that, really it does you no good to sit water. And we've gone over that before with guys that, if you want to hunt this buck, that's great. But sitting, he's only coming in at, 2:00 in the morning in the middle of the night. So being there at the water tank doesn't do us much good. You're going to have to spot and stalk to kill that deer. But you know what? One of these deer, the first deer we killed was Ryan Hamberlin. He, watching on trail cam, he was very patternable, and he was making the mistake of coming in when the sun was up, and that proved to be his demise. So
would out of the mature bucks, the the big mature bucks that you guys are constantly following, would you say over half of them only water at night and don't water during the day? Or what would be your ratio?
Yeah, at least that, Jay. Maybe 75%. I mean, most of the deer are only hitting water at night. Yep.
So the whole notion of it's dry, I'm just going to sit water and I'm going to slay them, a lot of times that doesn't come to fruition.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of on a individual basis with that deer. What is that deer doing? That's not something that can be taken in for every single deer on the strip. It's just individualized by what that deer is doing. And some deer, it's just funny. In some spots throughout 13A and B, some deer spots will hit in the day, and others will not at all. And so you've got to be smart and and watch that to know what the best plan of action is to kill that deer.
Ryan Hamberlin's deer, you mentioned his deer. It's a deer you guys have been watching for several years. Tell us a little bit about the story, kind of following the deer and then deciding to hunt that buck, and just tell me how it went down.
Yeah. So that's a buck. That's a buck we've been after for, oh man, maybe 3 years now. A really just big, mature, old strip buck. We hunted him last year. Last year, the deer was hitting a dirt tank that we kind of had a group of bucks to ourselves. He was hitting a dirt tank that didn't have any cameras on it, and we found the buck and a bunch of other bucks he's with glassing. And so with that, we kind of had him to ourselves. Hunted him hard all last year. Hunted him through the rifle hunt with no luck. We hunted him hard. We hiked our butts off. Just did everything possible we could, and the deer. I think the deer was moving a little bit on us to rut, and we just had a hard time relocating him after he'd move on us. And so, fast forward this year on a dry year, that dirt tank was dry, so the buck was forced to come up and hit a wildlife drinker there that had quite a few cameras on it. So then, these bucks became pretty popular. And this is just a deer that we all loved and kind of fell in love with. So, we really want, this year he's one of the better deer. And so we decided that was the buck we were going to hunt, and just following, since we put the cameras up the end of May, he was pretty consistent. He'd hit in the morning and in the evening. And then in between he would only hit at night, but he was slipping up every now and then. And so we kind of put all our cards in that he was going to mess up, and he was scheduled to do so. And we put Ryan in the blind and got up on the ridge glassing. And first light opening morning, he calls over the radio. The buck had come in and he had shot him, and he made a great shot. The buck didn't make it 100 yards before he expired. And just a buck that's hard. The pictures are great, but hard to appreciate without holding him. An old deer, we're thinking maybe 9 or 10. Really old deer with just a giant frame and just big mass.
Yeah, he's a great looking deer. How did he compare his 2020 rack compared to the 19 rack?
So I think this year he's a little bit heavier. Last year he had some more extras. On the one side, he's a 6x4. On the 4-point side last year, he had about a 9-inch hook that came off his G2. He did not grow that this year. And then on his left side, where he's got the two kickers, I think he had another kicker off his 4. So he had a little bit more trash last year, and we do have that footage, and I'm sure they'll be putting it up on the Instagram of him. It'll be on there to see and kind of see the difference from the 2 years. But I do think overall, maybe just a little bit bigger look this year than what he had last year.
It's nice too to shoot one of those old deer when there's plenty of young good deer around too. It's nice to shoot one of those old ones knowing that he's getting towards the end of his life cycle, and he's probably just going to get shorter points and continue growing mass. So it's probably just an awesome year to take him. He's a great looking big frame buck. So that was the first buck, and then lightning struck again.
Yeah, yeah. So that was opening morning, and then that was up on 13A. Clay was down on 13B with man, just a great guy, great hunter, Zach Atkins. He drew 13B archery tag, and Clay was down there chasing a buck that we had found on, we'd had on camera. We're kind of going back and forth on what buck he was going to go after. And after going through pictures and looking at this buck, Zach decided that he was going to hunt that buck exclusively, and that was the buck for him. So while I was up there chasing on A, Clay was down on B, and they were on the buck opening day. I think they got within 80 yards, and then just, I think, twice, and just needed the buck to step out from behind a tree, and it didn't quite. He walked away from him, straight away with the tree blocking the shot. And then they bedded the buck, and we're closing in, I think, at 150 yards, and just a crazy thing. An airplane comes flying in just a couple hundred feet above ground and just rumbles everything and blows that buck up out of his bed. And he took off running for a couple miles, and that was kind of the end of it for the opener. It was just kind of a crazy thing that you don't expect that to come into play.
And then Clay was able to relocate him the next morning?
Yes. So then, so that night we all regrouped. We did not see the buck that night, but we regrouped the next morning. I went down, joined Clay, and just our whole team. We got our whole team of guys, kind of ganged up on this buck. We didn't pick him up at first, and then Clay was, after the morning initial hunt, Clay was driving through the country, and man, Zach saw the buck bedded up off the side of the road, come up underneath some rim rock under a tree, and he told Clay, keep going, don't stop, because lots of times when that happens, the deer, when you hit the brakes, the deer panics and runs off. So wisely, he told Clay, keep going. So Clay came around, met up with the rest of us, got us there on a point where we all could see the deer, and then we all came and saw where the buck was laying. He had us spread out on our respective glassing points, and he went back around, and just with all of us up on the point, we were able to put Zach in the right spot, and man, he made an absolutely phenomenal shot. It's funny, we talked about it. A lot of times we get these archery hunters that call and they tell us how great a shot they are. And sometimes it doesn't quite pan out that way once we go hunting, but it was nice to have a guy that could really back it up. And Zach did. He threaded the needle on this buck, and he went, I don't know, he maybe went 150 yards before he laid down, and we watched as he expired. And man, just that buck just blew us away. From the trail cam pictures, it's crazy. We were kind of looking at it driving in today, how much the buck put on in just a month, how much he grew. And he still had a little bit of growing to do, when we killed him. But it was just crazy. When we walked up on him, we realized the deer we had severely misjudged him and underestimated him. Just the bases, I think he had 7.25 inch bases. And after all the mass measurements were done, he had 51.5 inches of mass, 35-inch outside spread, and a 30-inch inside spread.
And he's got double droppers straight down by his ears.
Right, just the deer you dream of. I mean, he's got one I think one dropper's 9. I think the other one's 8. And just, 27-inch main beams, just an awesome buck.
I'm looking at the photo right now, and it looks like from, like his eye guard out through his main beam, there's like a strip of vein, if that makes sense, where there's like a ledge. And you've had the buck in your hand, but do you know what I'm saying? Where there's like a vein and it's like a high spot. It's pretty cool. It goes right out from, say, the base or by the eye guard right out through the middle of the antler, almost splitting like the G3 and the G4.
It's a ridge.
Yeah, it's a ridge. Yeah, cool. Double dropper. So you guys are headed back. You've got one more archery hunter, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yep. They got in on a buck this morning within 40 yards. Just didn't quite get the shot opening they needed between some trees, but we're hoping to keep after it. We can hopefully put our hands on that buck as well.
Awesome.
Just got blessed with some great hunters this year. Some really great people that have just been an absolute pleasure to have in camp.
Awesome, man. Well, tell Clay hello and keep it up and knock one more down, and then you guys can get ready for the rifle hunts, and we'll hear from you after this next hunt. So keep after it, all right?
That sounds great, Jay. Sure appreciate you, man. Thanks for all you do.
All right, buddy. Take care. God bless.
Hey, you as well. Bye.
Bye.